everybody joining us on YouTube. We are waiting for Sean, who's running just a couple minutes late. So he'll be here very shortly. I'm also going to try and do a TikTok live tonight with this episode. I'm basically just going to kind of record my screen and all that good jazz. I'm not a big YouTube user, so I don't know how this is all going to work, but there's only one way to find out. So right now, as you're watching us on YouTube, we're just in a little bit of a holding pattern here. He says he's coming. No, that's funny. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Tonight is episode 8. We just completed episode 7, actually, of It Came From the Podcast. We're getting ready to go into episode 8 with Sean Austin tonight. He is just about ready to make his way into the room. Dakota McCartney. So Sean Austin is going to be joining us here in just a moment. We are actually recording for episode 8 of It Came From the Podcast. For those of you that don't know who Sean Austin is, be sure to check out 28 Days Haunted on Netflix, Ghost Loop on Travel Channel, a film called Maleficent, and lots of other things that Sean has been a part of. We're going to warn you guys, I am completely new to the whole TikTok thing. Never really used it before. So I don't care if you guys send little gifts or however all that works. This is just here for you guys to be able to watch. I figured I'd try it out and see how it goes. Thank you for all the likes. Again, I don't know much about the whole TikTok thing, but thank you everybody for joining. Sean Austin will be joining us here in just a moment. We're going to be recording episode 8 of It Came From the Podcast, and you guys on TikTok will be able to check it out. There he is.
Hey, bud.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going?
It's going, man. It's going. Hey, I got us live on YouTube right now.
All right.
Also live on TikTok as well. Just kind of trying this out. So give the TikTok users a chance to see the interview and also find out about the big thing that we're going to talk about tonight, which is your brand new thing. And I'm kind of excited. So I'm glad you could join us. If you're cool, man, I'm just going to jump right in.
Go for it.
Okay. Give me just a moment here. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is Sean Coletta with It Came From the Podcast. We are on episode 8. We just wrapped up episode 7 about 20 minutes ago. Our guest tonight, we had to move because, as I said previously, he was driving, and we thought it'd be better if he kept his eyes on the road than his eyes on me talking to him on a cell phone. So we moved him to today, and I'm excited to have him. You may have seen him on 28 Days Haunted on Netflix, possibly in the film Maleficent. If you get a chance, definitely check that out. It's amazing. Also been on Ghost Loop on Travel Channel. Sean is someone that I have a high regard for. I've had an opportunity to investigate with Sean on several different occasions, and in fact, he was part of one of the most impactful things that ever happened to me on an investigation. He is a beacon in the darkness to spirits, and they come to him for help. And I just noticed behind you, Sean, you've got posters up. I just mentioned Malefist, the one in the middle, the Amityville one. Was that one you as well?
Yep, yep,
Okay.
yep.
Um, I know we talked about that a long time ago, your interest with the Amityville house. Um, but I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. First and foremost, it is Veterans Day. So a huge thank you to all of our veterans, because without you, we wouldn't be able to be doing what we're doing right now. And nothing's cooler than that. To those of you guys joining me here on TikTok, I am not a TikTok expert. I just hit the button, made a description, and went live. So I hope you guys get a chance to enjoy this interview. So, Sean, thanks for joining me tonight, man. I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for having me, man.
I know you're a busy guy. You're running all over the place,
Yeah,
but that's a good thing. It's keeping you out of trouble.
yeah, that's right.
Um, I didn't really get a chance to talk to you before we went live here, but I think I told you before, these interviews go about 30, 40 minutes.
Mhm.
So we're not going to take up an hour or 2 hours of your time tonight.
Cool.
But I really want to talk about a couple things. And the first thing that I want to talk about is brand new your brand new app, brand new company. I have been following the progress that you've been making on it, and I know it's available on Apple, soon to come to Android, which I'm excited about. Let's talk about SPI, Spirit Phone Innovations.
Sure. I originally came up with the idea. It was 10 years ago, this past October, and I was never able to implement the idea. It's very pricey to be able to try to put something together like that, and just seems like some divine, interventional thing happened. Someone just randomly said on one of my live chats, "You should have your own app, paranormal app." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've had an idea for a while," and just by chance, a girl that actually had watched my live stream, she was watching at the same time. She said, "Well, I'm actually an app developer," and that started that conversation and started explaining my original idea. And then somehow we were able to pull everything together and make it happen. Yeah, it kind of happened pretty quickly. And Spirit SPI stands for Spirit Phone Innovations. I thought about Thomas Edison and the Spirit telephone that allegedly he had actually had, that no one really saw, but there was word that he was able to talk with the dead with this Spirit telephone. So that's what I thought about with that. When I started to do research with EVPs in my beginning of the journey of me into the paranormal, I was fascinated about EVPs because I had my first experience with them, and I looked up about frequencies and things of that nature. And I realized that, their audio forensic analysis that actually look at a piece of audio and say, for instance, they're listening to a recording that you had on a paranormal investigation. And in this one voice, they hear that they agree that that's a human voice. But that would be speaking on a frequency that's impossible scientifically to be a human voice. It only could be like a kick drum of a drum set. So that's when I came up with this idea of something, with a text to speech ability that would be able to disseminate between a spirit and an EVP and try to interpret that cannot be us speaking during investigation within the audio and the environment. And because of our technological advancements, we're using AI to try to attempt to get those words and communications with that. And that's basically the concept really right there is of the basic version is trying to have the AI interpret the EVPs for us, and also which stands different from your cliche types of stuff that's been out for many years. Like an ovilus, which obviously is the EMF. The spirit can manipulate the EMF to one of the words in its database, but there's also like a lot of limitations to that with these vocabulary lists because the spirits can only say the word that's in the vocabulary list. So I wanted to be able to have something that has no limitations and has any word ability to come through and say, because the more words that the spirits can say, the higher chance of the experience of the user or just during a paranormal investigation in general. And there's going to be other features that are becoming forth in the future that will advance that even further, and we're still experimenting and refining this original concept idea that I did come up with, as we continue, because again, things happen really quickly and stuff, but there's definitely been some very interesting really cool evidence that's come through. I was actually just in the Warren Museum, Ed and Lorraine Warren's museum in Connecticut a week or two ago. And we got some really amazing stuff coming through the app. It was bringing up Annabelle, or while we were in front of Annabelle doll and things, some other items in the museum. I actually had I asked because we were talking about Ed, and I asked if Ed was with another spirit watching us with him, and at the same time, the SB7 Pro by Gary Galka and my app, they both said Lorraine at the same time, which I thought was pretty fascinating.
Oh, wow.
And that's something that I've been trying to do since I've been experimenting with it, is to have another device on and see if you can validate it, to see if you get
Right.
the same results with the app and like a spirit box, and have
Mhm.
some sort of connectivity to that. And I've had some pretty interesting stuff happen as I've been experimenting with it, and as we will continue to do so as well.
So, the way that you've described this app, obviously you've differentiated it from something like an Ovilus, which already has a built-in dictionary.
Hmm.
So, this app does not have any predetermined words in it. There's no dictionary to be chosen from. Is that correct?
It's like you're using text to speech, and like
Okay.
you're like texting someone, and they can hear what you're saying almost across the room. So it's kind of like taking that principle, but only doing it for EVPs and disembodied voices that are loud enough and intelligible for the AI to try to interpret, that is outside the spectrum of human speech. So it's basically dancing outside. If I was talking right now, excuse me, it would be canceling out and not trying to interpret my words, because we talk on a basic bracket of frequencies in human speech. So it's only looking for intelligible words outside of what we're speaking on and trying to spit out those words. It's new technology, AI,
Mhm.
text to speech. That technology literally just came out just as we started to use and build this app. So it's very unpredictable, and there's things, and we're still like, experimenting. It's exciting because it's a brand new method. It's never been done before. So that excites me.
Right.
And I can't wait to constantly, mold this and innovate it further as we experiment with this new technology.
And that's what I think is great is that, now it's in its infancy stages. And as it's used more and more by users all around the world, you'll be able to collect that data and use your findings to advance the technology. Um, I know that, especially having seen you do your TikToks and things like that, AI is really a game changer. I've seen you doing your lives, and you click the AI button, and you see things generated, faces and figures, and I have witnessed this firsthand.
Mhm.
Some incredibly, like, when we're talking to what we believe is a spirit, and we're getting these answers back, and then you tap the button and it generates an image that completely goes along with what our discussion is. Um, can this application be you, or let me rephrase that. What do you think the best combination would be? Say this application and what combined together to get uh, the best data.
Well, like I had said, I recommend using a spirit box next to it because it gives an extra step of validation. It's kind of like what I do as myself, being sensitive to spirits,
Mhm.
because I consider myself a piece of equipment too. And I'm always looking for that other piece of validation to validate what I'm picking up, to go
Right.
towards that notion and have more of an answer to the research you're doing for whatever the reason is, an investigation. Say for instance, I was at this place because I just, came back from, we did like a 2 week road trip of haunted places just a couple weeks ago. I went to this
Right.
new, really amazing location in South Carolina called the Holiday House, an old funeral home from the 1800s. And, I was using the app, and I have this on video because I'm going to make a 2 minute trailer for the app and explain how it works and then show some clips of using it. But there's this one instance where there was this character named Joe who was allegedly in the house. And I'm like, where is Joe? And it goes near. And it was funny because the spirits were coming through the spirit box and they're saying app, app. And I'm like, do you
Mhm.
want me to use that? And it goes, yeah, use that. So then, like, I went to go get the app, I used it, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, Joe's near. I'm like, where is he? And he goes, watching. And like right after that, in the room adjacent to me, in the doorway, there was a cat ball, a music box trigger, and then a Mel meter at the other doorway. And then right after the response came through my application, all those things belled all at the same time, which I thought was really interesting. And that's what the
Yeah.
thing that I would say is to kind of line up things. That's what we're always, they're all different puzzle pieces we're trying to bring together to culminate some sort of answer and lean towards whether something is, unexplained phenomenon or something rational. But yes, I would definitely just off the bat, definitely have the spirit box on next to it and see if they correlate. I think it's a very easy, anything have to do with ITC and just using different things, can definitely see if things are lining up.
Now, I mean, is this something that you've been planning and working on for a long time? Like, what was that moment when you said, "Hey, I think I need to try this as the next step in the evolution of investigating and research"? When was that point for you?
Well,
When did
it
this come
was
about?
October 10 years ago. I came up with the idea, and originally I talked with the guy who created the original Ghost Radar app, because when I first was like investigating the paranormal with for a couple of years, I don't remember whatever it was, but when that came out, I was using that thing and I was getting some really interesting results. And I talked to him about my idea and he was gonna implement it, but then he kind of lost his job. It never happened because again, it's big bucks to try to put something like that together, tens of thousands of dollars, dude.
Yeah.
And it just I ended up having people that were able to invest in the app. A couple of friends of mine, and actually somebody who's down in New Orleans, a very prominent figure, Bloody Mary,
Mm.
the Voodoo Queen, and we're actually throwing a gala party this weekend as a release party to the app down in New Orleans. So I'm going to be actually flying out there this Thursday and be using the app down there. With Amy, who's the president of the company, she's been very helpful, and her team putting all this stuff together. And I've never been to New Orleans, but it kind of happened really quickly, and we wanted to get it out in October. So, because obviously everyone think about Halloween. So things
Yeah.
happen really quickly, really fast, but we are still refining this and I'm experimenting and making sure that it is molded and perfected to my liking before we jump onto these other features that I have ideas for. And these ideas have never been seen before that I'm really excited about as well, that are even beyond possibly more exciting than this thing itself. So I want to make sure that this is 100%. I'm happy with it, and this is it, and just spread the word. And then we'll start adding these other crazy features like a pro version of the app. But already people have been having some really interesting results. People have been sending me messages and things of that nature. So, it's exciting. And just to be potentially a part of something that could help people do paranormal research with the subject I'm passionate about is, pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, what you just talked about there was that what I had mentioned earlier. The more and more people use it, the more data and input you'll be able to get. What are some of the things that people have reported to you where you've said, "Holy crap, that's amazing"? Have you had any of that feedback come back yet, where you're like, "Oh, okay, here's an idea that I need to implement now. Like this is so profound." Have you had that happen yet?
Yeah, I mean, some loved one stuff had come through for people that were so specific. That was just really wild. Like sayings a loved one would say that no one
Mm-hmm.
else would know, or an item that their grandmother gave them, like a Beanie Baby, or like a saying that someone always said when they walked away from the person saying goodbye. It was like, until then, or something like that. There's definitely been a handful of things that were pretty interesting, that definitely stand out. But yeah, I just can't wait to even push it even further.
Now I want to ask this question because I don't know if I'm sure you're aware already. I've started my a new paranormal research team of my own,
Hmm.
and I'm gearing this more toward the scientific side of research. And with that, I'm doing away with the whole, "Hey, is there anybody here with us?" I'm getting rid of that whole thing because I'm going on the educated assumption that if we're going into a haunted location, there's probably something there. So I'm wanting to go with more uh, analysis of data that I'm getting from locations. I want to be able to get humidity levels, temperature levels. I'm going in a little bit of a different direction. And an app like this, I think, is going to fit into that mold perfectly because as much as I'm not a big equipment guy, this is different than anything that's out there now.
Mm-hmm.
I despise the Ovilus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why anything with pre-programmed words in it, I have a hard time wrapping my head around that. I'm not the most brilliant guy in the world, but I know that the chance of getting an answer to something that may be slightly relevant to the situation is
Mm-hmm.
pretty good. And it seems like this application eliminates a lot of that garbage. So the one thing that I want to ask you is this. Now, this app is designed for iPad, from what I understand, but it is usable on iPhones, correct?
Yeah, for right now, the first version is in Apple, and we're still refining it, and we'll be pushing updates as we go. And then we're planning for first quarter 2025 to have Android out as well. And by that time, that'll be great because we're pushing our own updates with this. And by the time that's Android comes out, we'll have that. It's going to be fully done, and again, it's advancing. I'm doing more experiments with this thing to make sure whatever this concept is works to the best capability it's possibly of doing.
Right.
But the more feedback we get from people, and the more experimentation I'm doing, I'm really excited to see where this is going to go.
Right. One thing I was kind of getting at there was, let's say that I have this app installed on an iPhone and I'm holding it in my hand and I'm doing whatever it is that I'm doing at the time. Have you considered, or what do you think about the fact that, do you think that holding the device in your hand and your energy that you've already got, do you think that combination has any effect on the operation of the app and the results that you're going to get from that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the same principle when someone's holding a spirit box too. I mean, you're kind of a receptor, or you're kind of the opposite of that. When you go to an investigation, that one person might be like an energy killer, and
Mhm.
spirits are more receptive to people more so than others. So I think there is definitely a combination there, and the combination of the spirits, how they're able to manipulate anything that's electrical, and according to the individual that's holding a device to use something like that, can create a perfect recipe for the spirits to try to communicate and be willing to use their energy and try to manipulate a device that you may be trying to use.
Interesting. So I'd be interested to see, again, this is where doing things a little bit differently on these investigations can really have an impact based on what we were just talking about here. Take the iPhone, set it in the middle of the floor, at the same time have one in your hand, and you can immediately compare results
Mhm.
on the same app in the same environment at the same time. I'm to be honest, I'm really excited about this because I think even at this point in its infancy, it's a huge game changer. When I first heard you talking about it, I was like, man, it sounds really cool. And then as you started talking about it more, and I started seeing and reading more about it, I was like, this is absolutely going to be a game changer, because the potential for what it can be as time goes on
Yes,
is
yes.
going to change the entire face of the ITC world to begin with.
It definitely has the potential to doing that, and it's never been
It
done
really
like this
does.
before. And again, we're using technology that's never been used for ITC, and the only thing, like you said, has been used with AIs and imagery. And I do have an idea for the imagery portion that I want to
Mhm.
put on the pro version when we're ready. That's going to be super unique and turning that idea into something brand new and so exciting. And I can't
Mhm.
wait to share that when we get to that point. Uh,
Yeah, definitely. So to everybody that's watching this right now or listening to the episode, this is, as I said, this is a game-changing application. The technology behind it is new, but the potential is huge, and I think there's going to be amazing things to come out of this. And speaking as someone who has been there, witnessing different things that you have done, the interaction that you have gotten, I speak from experience when I say that I know that you have put 100% of yourself into this, because that's what you do. I've never seen you not go in 100%.
Yeah,
on
this is something
anything.
I've
So
never expected to be a part of something like this. It was an idea I had many years ago, and then it was like, boom, it happened. And you know, the first day we got some interesting enough is that the first day I got word that it was said to have worked with an engineer messing with the code and got something
mm,
very relevant that freaked him out. I
mm,
I was actually I was in my bed that morning and I had a very what I believe to be an outer body experience known as astral projection when your soul leaves your body and goes places. And I've had many experiences like that. Even I wrote about a whole chapter about it in my first book, Shadow Chaser. But I was back in my old house where my I grew up in, and my old dog Bandit was next to me, looked at me like he wanted to go out. I'm like, "You want to go out?" He jumped on me, licked my face. I saw my dad's face. He smiled, and then next thing you know, I was like floating in this room, and I physically felt the gravity not being in the room. I literally felt like I was floating, and I heard some talking going on, and this I don't know why, but I asked this gentleman, I'm like, will this work? Will the invention work? And he goes, yes, it will help us communicate. And then this woman's voice said to me, you learned a lot in this life. Congratulations. And then when I came out of it, I was in my bed. And the best way to explain of how I felt is that here on planet Earth in my bed, it felt foreign to me, if that makes any sense.
yeah, it
This
does. Yeah.
place actually felt foreign to me. There's no strange feeling ever. And I had this very euphoric, peaceful feeling. I got up and I got a call from Amy. She's like, oh, the engineer messed with it. He got some crazy thing coming through, it said to him. And I just thought the timing of that was so unique. And then, you know, my dad, I was having experiences with my dad that week, all throughout that time. And I feel like my dad knew that this was going to be something like significant and when I'm building off this thing. So, you know, that was pretty fascinating and pretty cool. And, you know, it seems like the spirits are talking about the app a lot too, which is fascinating to me too. So I'm excited, like you said, where this is going to lead, because I think this is kind of just the beginning of the path.
Yeah. Well, that was interesting when you had said that you were getting the word app coming through. My first thought was, so these spirits know what an app is? Like that's I can't quite wrap my head around that one.
I'll
But
just wait till I post the clip on the trailer of the first night when I investigated that holiday house, because it that night was just insane with the app, and they were talking about it straight up through the
yeah.
spirit box, and then they asked me to go use it and turn it on, and then I had some other crazy thing happen. So
Well, I recently had a discussion with somebody actually in the last episode that I did here a short time ago. These spirits know when you are going somewhere. They know what your intentions are. And I think they're able to have an idea of what you're going to be bringing. So, for example, for you, we'll take Gettysburg, for example. On the night, well, last year, not this year, but last year when we were there, those spirits knew you were coming. They knew what you were bringing. They knew that they were going to be able to communicate to you. And I think it's interesting. It makes you so bad want to have a peek behind that veil just to see what they see for a moment. But I don't know if it's someone like yourself that just has that ability, or if it's all of us as investigators. But these spirits know what we're doing. They know what we're trying to do. They're becoming more and more familiar, maybe, with some of the equipment that we're using. And the easier that we can make it for them to communicate with us, such as what you've got going on with this device, I think it's gonna change the face of what we do. I really do. Um, I want to ask this: how has the ITC community accepted what you're doing here with this new app?
well, I really haven't heard much. I mean, but I've had conversations with a good friend of mine, Gary Galka, with the creator of the
Mhm.
Spirit Box. So
Yeah.
I've had conversations with him and taken some advice for him as well, because I did make a video that I showed him that he's pretty impressed with, because I had my app on and it said giggles, laughing, innocent play. And I was on the phone with Amy, who's the one of the app developer, and I had the device on the spirit box, and literally like a woman comes through and goes, I think there's a child. I'm like, is there a child here? And a woman goes, there's many children. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, does a kid want to play? And a little kid's like, I want to play. And to have that come through so clearly with those
Yeah,
words next to it, I thought was really fascinating, and in which Gary too. And I will continue my conversations with Gary if he has any knowledge to help me progress this and innovate it further, because this, again, things happen so quickly, and and something's happening. And I think it's not just interpretation of EVP, what's going on. And again, we know spirits manipulate anything that's electrical, but I think there's a factor at play where the spirits are trying to manipulate the AI to say what it wants to say too. So there's
mhm,
something going on. I don't know. Again, it's a new method, so it's good. It's kind of experimental, and but there's results coming through that are definitely really fascinating. But definitely will be constantly chiseling the statue, so to speak, as I do more experimentation to make sure that this is refined to the fullest extent it possibly can be. But definitely exciting.
sure. Yeah, it really is. It really is exciting. You know, as I said before, I'm not a huge equipment guy. I'm not a big app guy, but things like this for people that are in that same boat, where especially when it comes to the apps, again, this is something different. And if you haven't tried it out yet, I think you definitely should. I'm waiting on the Android version, of course. Do we have a window for that yet? Or
For Android?
I'm asking you that question specifically too because Bob and Denise, Bob wanted me to ask you that question specifically.
I know. Yeah, I mean, as soon as we can get it out, we will definitely get out. It's going to be first quarter 2025.
Okay.
Because we're pushing updates for this too. There's things that I want to have make sure that this thing is completely perfected to the fullest extent it possibly can. And but yeah, I mean, Android's definitely going to be happening, and we're hoping, yeah, just by first quarter 2025 for sure. Because this happened, like the app's only been out on iOS, I think about 3 4 weeks
I was
tops.
going to say not even a month yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're pushing updates on this, and that's what's going to be great. Like I said, once we're like really okay, we don't have to push any more updates with this by that time, when we just switch it over and try to transfer and mold it to the Android operating system.
Mhm.
Then it'll be just ready to go. It won't have to be that many as updates and shit like that, and then we can actually start thinking about these pro features that are going to be pretty wild.
Right. Well, absolutely. Well, Sean, I know you're a busy guy, man. I'm not gonna keep you for too long here.
No
Um,
worries.
but I do appreciate you coming on. I really wanted as many people as I could possibly get. That's why I specifically went on TikTok tonight as well, along with YouTube, just to get the reach out there. And I know you've got a pretty big presence on TikTok too. Let people know where they can get the app. Um, if you can tell what the price is, I don't know if that's something you
Yeah. So
want to
just
say or
type
not,
in
but
S.
let
Just
let
type
them
in.
let them know all that stuff.
Yeah, just type in SPI or Spirit Phone Innovations. From what I look on my iPad, it comes right up when you type in SPI. But if it doesn't, just type in Spirit Phone Innovations. And it's 14.99. It's a basic version, and there'll be a pro version that'll be coming in the future on iOS. And I do believe you have to have a later version of Apple iPhone to download it, because the technology is new and some of these phones are not capable of actually using this technology yet. So just take a note to that. And definitely we'll have Android out as soon as we can.
Perfect. And, I think a neat thing too about these new iPhones that are out is they actually have the new Apple Intelligence built in. So maybe that's something that can be integrated with these apps too. The
Yeah.
AI that's included in these phones. I'm excited about it, Sean. I really am. I know that it's a labor of love for you, and you're definitely putting everything into it to make it as legitimate and uh, as solid as you can to make sure that what people are getting out of it
Yep.
is as authentic and true as it
100%.
can be.
100%.
So I can't wait to actually see it in the palm of my hand. But yeah, man, in closing, just let people know where they can find you on social media and how they can follow the development of this app and see some results in real time if they don't have it themselves.
Yeah, most of my handles on social media are at Sean, Sean, D as in David, Austin, Sean D. Austin. Yeah, if you follow my pages, I'll be posting. We're going to making like a trailer to the app with some video results of it, and explain about the app in the coming weeks. So look out for that. And we're constantly pushing updates with the app as we continuously experiment with this exciting new method of trying to communicate with spirits that's never been done before.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, hey, Sean, thank you very much for taking some time out. I know you've been super busy lately, and I'm glad we were able to get you in. I appreciate you. Hopefully, I'll see you here in the near future.
You got it.
And best of luck with the app. And like I said, I'm looking forward to getting it in my hands. So,
Yep.
um, give me just one moment here. Well, hey, everybody on TikTok, thanks for joining, man. It's way more people than I thought. Like I said, I don't really do the TikTok thing, so. But hey, thank you guys very much for joining us. You heard it right here from the developer himself. If he doesn't convince you, I don't know who will.
Yeah.
Head over to the App Store, SPI, Spirit Phone Innovations. Buy the app, try it out. Hit up Sean on social media. Let him know if anything extraordinary happens. Let him know your feedback. Make some feedback on the app. Give it a ranking. Let's propel this into something really special. All right, we are no longer live on YouTube, or we are live on YouTube, but we're not recording anymore. And let me figure out how I can get off of this TikTok thing here. There we go. Man, I had a lot of people watching that TikTok. That's pretty crazy. Man, in the span of like a month, I've gotten to like 1,200 followers on TikTok, and I'm blown away by that.
Nice.
And none of them are bots. Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. Let me actually end this YouTube live real quick. Everybody watching on YouTube, appreciate you joining. We'll, of course, be back here next Monday, the 18th, with Mike Ricksecker. We're going to talk about aliens and triangles, and we're still trying to solve the mystery of how Mike Ricksecker gets that hair slick back so perfect. But anyway, we'll catch you guys again on the 18th. And make sure the old YouTube is on. I had too many things going here at once. I just want to make sure everything's ended. Give me a second here. Where are we at? Zoom. TikTok. Here we go. All right. Give me a second here. I'm just making sure that this YouTube ended here. So I'm just not getting around to looking at the YouTube comments here. Bob wanted me to specifically to ask you about the Android version, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're done with the live now. Get it in. I want to ask you about something, but I want to make sure that this YouTube live ends first. I don't know why it is not ending. Yeah. Anyway, I was going to ask you. I'm sure you're familiar that the outcome of the Delphi case.
I know. Yeah.
This came out today. One of these days, man, I want to talk to you about that because I know that you had some information. I don't think I've ever really talked to you about that, but it interests me. So one of these days, I want to talk to you about that thing that you did and see if there were any comparisons between what happened along the way. But anyway, I'll let you go, buddy. I know you got some things to do. So I appreciate you. Hopefully I see you here soon. And
yeah.
best of luck to you on this app, man. I'm excited for it. I really am.
Yeah. it's a lot of pressure too. And just like, you want to make
Yeah,
sure everything's like going well and it's doing the best it possibly can. And, that's what we're
right.
trying to like hanker down on. I mean, I'm about to take another big loan out so we can keep developing it. I mean, it's already over like 30 grand for the
Jeez.
so
Yeah,
I got to take out another loan. So, more testing, more experimenting, making sure that this thing as legitimate and as scientific as possible.
right.
So, but yeah,
Well,
interesting, crazy results
I'm,
so far, and we'll see what happens.
yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a success, man. I'm excited for you. So,
Definitely.
well, well, hey, take it easy, man. I appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Yep. Sounds good, man. You have a great night. Talk with you.
Hey, you too.
All right, buddy.
Thanks. Bye bye.